This meeting is being recorded.
Great. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda tonight? Council? All right, seeing none. Item number 4 is community announcements. Staff?
I have one announcement tonight, and that's to thank everyone to come into town hall in person and for everyone on Zoom. This is our first hybrid meeting tonight, so there will be some quirks to the tech issues, and just appreciate you all working through with us.
Great. Anybody else? Just want to announce that Lights on Bikes is December 17th, and it all starts at Wagner Plaza. And there's a lot of information online about it. And is there an announcement on the website about it at all?
Oh, there's so little.
Okay, great. Thank you. Right. If there's nothing else, item number 5 is speakers heard on non-agenda items. Are there some speaker request forms for non-agenda?
Yes, ma'am. We have the speaker request.
Okay. So, Hector, I think the challenge we have is that the sound isn't coming through, so you have to repeat what is being said. Is that right?
That is correct, Mayor.
Okay. And the speaker is aware of that?
We'll let them know.
Okay. So,
But attendees in the via Zoom can hear their announcements, so they're aware.
okay, I usually have the speaker request forms in front of me. Are they here? Thank you. Are these all of them for the evening? Yeah, okay. And then you have some online, is that as well?
We have 2 raised hands in the Zoom attendees, so Lutz and Ann Taylor.
Okay. So let's go ahead and go with all of the I guess I just want to get clarification on this one speaker request form. David Spinney, are you here to speak on an agenda item?
I'm here to request additional traffic control for the Clearview subdivision.
Very good. Please come forward and state your name and city for the record.
I am David Spinney. I'm the president of the Clearview HOA.
Great. Okay, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. We, as you probably know, are a very attractive shortcut from Highway 99 over to Suncrest. And as a result, we have quite a bit of traffic flowing through our subdivision. Now, one of the things that's happened more recently is we have quite a substantive influx of new children having moved into the neighborhood. We also have a few adults that are somewhat mobility impaired. And our concern is that the traffic moving through, it seems to be not particularly concerned about speed limits or anything like that. Also, our streets are very narrow, and if you've driven through there, you've probably seen it's sometimes difficult for 2 cars to pass one another. So what we would like to do is request for the city to install some additional signage, specifically a 4-way stop at the in towards Highway 99, and a 3-way stop, because I understand we can't do a 4-way because it's too close to Suncrest on the other end. And also a speed limit sign, and if possible, something like a children at play sign. We are also in the process of putting together some play equipment to go in our park, which is right there on the road. And we just like to keep our children safe before there's any problem that arises from that. And I know that the Public Works did put down some traffic counters, but I was somewhat mystified because I did not see a traffic counter on our main road. They were on the side roads, which has not been a problem we've noticed. So basically, we're just asking for some signage. Keep our people safe.
I'm sorry, Mr. Spinney, can you repeat where, what street intersection that was on?
Yes, the main street that goes through Clearview is Clearview. And the intersection that we like the four-way stop is the intersection of Clearview and Winter Sage that's closest to Highway 99. And a three-way stop on the other end of Winter Sage. We get both, traffic going through and also quite a bit of traffic going to the Public Works Department there as well. So, and then speed limit sign wherever would work for, I don't know what the rules are about that. And if we could have a children at play sign somewhere near the park, that would be perfect.
Thank you.
And thank you for your time. And thank you all for your service.
Thank you. Are the speakers online for non-agenda item?
I see that Mr. Lutz's hand is still raised.
It's still up. Is that what you said? Okay. So let's call Mr. Luz forward and let him know that she'll be interpreting for him. So due to technical difficulties at this time, this is our first hybrid meeting, and so we appreciate everybody's patience as we work out the quirks. We cannot get the sound from speakers on the Zoom, so they will speak to Hector, and then Hector will repeat.
Okay, can you hear me now, Hector?
I can hear you, Mr. Lutz.
Okay, so I just wanted to congratulate Mayor Darby on her razor-thin 20-vote election victory.
Mr. Lutz would like to congratulate Mayor Darby on her victory in the recent election.
It was a razor-thin margin, 20 votes.
That vote is a razor-thin margin. That's 20 votes.
About 50% of the people in Talent voted for Mark Anderson,
50% of the people in town voted for Mr. Mark Anderson,
and 50% voted for Mayor Darby.
and 50% voted for Mr. Mayor Darby.
50% of the residents have desires that may differ from Mayor Darby's.
50% of the residents of town have desires that may differ from Mayor Darby.
And I would encourage her to reach out to the 50% that did not vote for her
And I would encourage you to reach out to the 50% who did not vote for you,
and see what their desires are,
and see what their desires are,
and then make some changes
and then make some changes
that will unify
that
or
will
heal
unify
divisions.
and heal divisions.
Secondly, thank you for recusing yourself from tonight's study session,
Thank you for recusing yourself from tonight's study session.
and I hope that you would recuse from items 10.1 and 10.2 on the regular agenda.
Yourself from items 10.1 and 10.2 on today's regular meeting agenda.
And one more quick suggestion.
And one more suggestion.
I would, if I were you, refrain from social media commenting on items that you may be recusing yourself from.
I'm sorry, Mr. Let's get you to repeat that in a shorter fragment.
Yes, I would suggest
I would suggest
that you refrain from
from
social media postings regarding items
items
you may recuse yourself from.
you may recuse yourself from.
Thank you and have a great meeting.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Hector. Can you ask Mr. Luz to state his city for the record?
So let's do state your city.
Phoenix.
Phoenix.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers?
I see Ann Taylor with her hand raised.
You did a good job with that, Hector. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, Ann. My name is Hector Flores, and I'll be repeating your message to the council.
Hello.
State your name and
Please state your name and your address
city.
and state your city. part of me, I believe that attending Ann Taylor is experiencing technical problems with the network.
Okay, thank you, Hector. I would be happy to entertain her comments if we make another connection with her. So don't hesitate to stop us where we are, and we'll make space for her and give her an opportunity to speak on the record. I'm good?
She has left a comment in the chat saying that she wanted to attend tonight's meeting with a friend, but her car won't start, and she can't hear anything on the Zoom meeting. Her name is Ann Taylor.
Thank you. And just so everybody knows, again, we're working technical things out, but this meeting is recorded and the recordings are posted on the city website if anybody wants to review the conversations that we have tonight. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and move on to the next item. And again, if she appears, please let me know, Hector. I'd be happy to pause for her request form. The next item on the agenda is public presentations, item 6.1. Staff?
Yeah, I would love to welcome up our Chief of Police, Jen Snook, our Officer Vincent Carnigan, who will celebrate 15 years of service to the city with Officer Carnigan.
Good evening. It's so nice to see everybody in person. I know some of the council are having yet have the pleasure of meeting, so it's nice to see some of you. Over the last 15 years, Officer Carnigan has been a valued member of the Talon Police Department. His dedication and service to the residents of Talon does not go unnoticed. Many of you have seen him at community events such as bike patrols, during Halloween, playing the Monster Mash in neighborhoods, and or at the tree lighting with Santa riding shotgun in the patrol car. So as you can see, Officer Carnigan has a deep love for the job and as well as the community. The community is fortunate to have Officer Carnigan on staff for so many years. One of the many benefits is that he knows the community, has built positive relationships with people in the community, and takes the initiative to solve problems. In the past few years, we've been fortunate to hire 6 new officers, and each of them have spent time with Officer Carnigan being trained. And each time those new officers have spent time in the seat with him, they've come back and told me that they value their time with him because he has so much institutional knowledge and he knows the community. I've enjoyed working with and supervising Officer Carnigan. It's a privilege. He can be counted on and continues to be an asset to the organization and the community that he serves. And I know he's got his fiance in the audience somewhere. Oh, there you are. Okay. And you know, I also want to thank her as well, and his family, because there are a lot of sacrifices in this job. You know, missed Christmases, Thanksgivings, holidays, dinners, meals with your family at night. You know, the fact that you've been here for 15 years is a really big deal for us. You know, maybe you'll outpace me someday and be here longer. But with all that said, we just have a token of our appreciation to you for your 15 years of service to the city as well as the community.
I'm not much of a speaker. Thank you, I appreciate it.
I'm going to shake hand too.
Oh.
Thank you for your time. On behalf of the citizens of town, the residents of town, we thank you very much for your service to the city. I know my experiences with you out in the community have been very positive. You are friendly, engaging, and while you're not a public speaker, you're a great conversationalist out in the community, and that's a big plus for policing. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. And I would also like to thank, I failed to mention, thank you for the team that's here. It just shows that some of them were supposed to be off at 5 today, but are still here in support of Officer Carnigan. So, thank you.
And we are going to request a team photo that will come taken. Kristen Street, so don't go.
Do you want to stop for a second and do that?
If that doesn't mind, drop out.
Okay. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is commission member appointments. And item number 7.1 is an appointment to the Town Public Arts Committee. Is Megan Smith here tonight? Okay, well, it's not required for her to be here. I would want to just say for the record and for the public here tonight that one of our really great committees, the Town Public Art Committees, had an opening, and Megan was an applicant. I had an opportunity to meet with her. I really enjoyed our conversation. She had great experience. And then the next part of the process is that an applicant will go before the respective committee or commission where they interview with the rest of the team. And from there, a recommendation is made for the mayoral appointment. And I have that recommendation, so I am seeking the consent of the council to appoint Megan Smith to Town Public Arts Committee. Is there a motion? Councilman Amram?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to affirm the mayor's appointment of Megan Smith as a member to the City of Tyler Public Arts Committee for a 2-year term beginning December 7th, 2022.
Second. We have a motion and a second to affirm the mayor's appointment of Megan Smith as a member of the City of Talent Public Arts Committee for a 2-year term beginning December 7th, 2022. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'm gonna have to break that habit. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. Thank you, everybody. Good to see you all. Congratulations. Okay, the next item on the agenda are city reports. Staff?
Yeah, thank you. I would like to share with you all that my complete city manager report is in the agenda packet. I'm happy to answer any questions on it.
Any questions? Councilman Amram?
Yeah, I think we talked about the solar panels in the dog park. I think I saw something about that in the parks meeting minutes. And I'm just wondering, it seems like there's some kind of a shortfall in terms of funding. And I'm just wondering what it's, if steps are being taken or if that's more of a back burner from right now.
So just as a quick update and summarize the project, the city had received grant funding to go ahead and install solar panels in the dog park and in the field behind the community center. We got that funding just before COVID hit. When COVID hit, the project was put on pause. And then what we found when we were ready to hit go again is that prices had increased so much. The grant no longer covered the cost of installing the solar panels. So we are still working with the Oregon Solar Cooperative Program to identify more funding so we can make up that gap into the mains. But at this moment, we have not yet identified that funding.
Any other questions?
I can just follow up. Is it limited to that grant or can you get any of the other money? It's floating around right now.
I would have to get back to you on funding sources.
All right, thank you. The next item is 8.2, urban renewal report.
Yeah, thank you. This is an oral report because the meeting was just last night. The urban renewal meeting met last night. They looked over a proposed revitalization grant to help our downtown businesses improve their storefronts, increase access, increase ability to have services outside, et cetera. We got some great feedback on that administration that the executive director will work on finalizing and bring back to the board. The board also got an update on the Gateway Traditional Housing Program. I think that was it. It was a short night.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. Is there any item on the consent calendar that the council wishes to pull out for discussion? On the consent calendar is the approval of the city council minutes of November 2nd, November 16th, approval of check register, October 2022, November 22, approval of financial packet, August 22, approval of financial packet of September 22, and October 22. Acknowledgement of the Parks and Recreation minutes from October of 22, and approval of the noise permit for holiday party, El Sala. Is there anything there? All right,
I had a question about November check register.
okay,
Can I ask that now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed in there, just curious, two checks to Harvey Cobb in the month of November for, I think it was $45 each. Just curious about, I know we regularly,
I apologize for trying to find it so that the room can see it as well. So RV Cog handles a number of our services. Let me see them on the right in November here. So this one I see right here on the 18th, and I can look to our finance director to nod yes or no. I bet it's that for your answer instead of me. To correct me. If you don't mind, that's that. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Tessa DeLoy, Finance Director, and I have the check register here. And RV Cog, 44,000 of that was for the TAP project.
Oh.
And then $1,000 was for RV and PO dues, and $500 was for the city manager review.
Okay, there was two checks. There was one from, I think it was November 2nd, and then one in month.
Okay, different parts of the report now.
Just go previous page. Do I have this right?
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
You do, one on the second, one on the 18th, but on the second page.
And I'm looking at a totally different report than you're looking at. I have more detail to provide you. And it's not in alphabetical order as well. The other one is for tap utilities.
Okay.
Do you have any more questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the consent calendar, or comments, or edits? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Councilor Clark.
I move to approve the consent calendar.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. Is there any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. The next item on the agenda is unfinished business. It's item 10.1. And at this time, I'm going to step down from the dais. I am going to be joining my fellow residents as an impacted property owner so that I can participate as a resident in this item and item 10.2 as well. So with that, I'll hand you the gavel. What on this says.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm in the same boat, being a property owner in the affected area, so I'm going to step down as well for items 10.1 and 10.2, and it's up to the council to nominate somebody to preside.
I'm meeting Susan.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Council Clerk.
Happy to do it. So item 10.1 is resolution. Oh. Resolution 22-051-R on affordable construction excise tax for Almeda Fire rebuild.
Wonderful, thank you, and I will say at the time for those who are at our study session, I will do a quick abridged presentation of what we shared during the study session today. Quick check, Ms. Director, can people on Zooms see what I'm showing up on the screen? Great. And then we get started. First, I want to start off by saying, woo, resolution 2022-051R, and resolution 22-052-R. We've had a lot of community concern, who email submitted and phone calls sent to City Hall. So I'm really grateful for folks for engaging the city and providing us their feedback. I do want to give some clarifications on what these resolutions are about and where we are in the process of considering policies. So I just want to let people know that this is the beginning of this discussion. These resolutions were introduced to the council a couple months ago as a way to start talking about the conversation around what do we want to do with our continual rebuild, since we've been able to do so much rebuild already. At the time these were brought up, council requested a study session to dive deeper into these details, but due to council rules, we had to keep these resolutions on the agenda as a city certain. And so that's why they're showing up on the agenda tonight. Council has requested to just get more information and to clarify some policy things themselves. I also want to share that your concerns are being heard as a community. Absolutely, we got every email sent and phone call made. You can track those concerns. Some of those concerns are directly related to this topic that we're talking about, and some are related to other topics. If there are another topic, I will reach out and set a meeting with you all to discuss and figure out other solutions. But I do want to let you all know the main concerns that we have heard with the two resolutions that are on the agenda tonight, and they really surround around people's ability to keep their single-family homes on properties or single-family homes that are lost in fire. So we did have a study session earlier today, and our study session will be available as a recording tomorrow on our website. But I do want to give some brief basics and outline, just so all the folks in the room can know how we got to where we are and what our next steps ahead will be. So per our municipal code, the code that governs us, we have a section that states that the structure is lost with planning. Any new structures would have to be built according to current code. You can see the actual code language over here on the side. It turns out, for us, everything on the map that you see that's dark purple, that's our residential high density zone. And single family detached homes are not allowed or not conforming use within that zone. And what we experienced during the fire is, next year, a lot of the properties that were affected by the fire were within that high density residential zone. And so even though our code says that folks, if they were rebuilding their homes after a calamity, would have to rebuild conforming to the current regulations they're in, the city went ahead and used its emergency powers to temporarily suspend that section of the code to allow single-family homes to rebuild. They also temporarily suspended section 3.40, which is a 1% construction excise tax that helps support affordable housing. So because of this, when the emergency declaration ends, the temporary suspensions will end as well. And so we're having this conversation now to figure out what we want our future of the rebuild to look like, and what steps we need to take to make sure that that policy is what moves forward. So really the main question that council is considering right now is when is it appropriate to declare the emergency over? And we want to make any changes to our code to better support rebuild after a natural disaster. I would love to invite you all to go ahead and listen to that PowerPoint presentation. I will also have the slides up online as well. But we'll share a little bit about what rebuild has occurred and what rebuild is left to go. But I do want to just jump to the heart of the matter here of what kind of was discussed in the study session was some different policy scenarios. And those policy scenarios were allowing like-to-like rebuild. That would be allowing single-family homes to continue to rebuild either indefinitely or for a specific period of time, keeping it tied to the emergency declaration, or just going ahead and ending the temporary suspension. And what council discussed in the study session was to look more deeply at different versions of scenario one, with specific requests of understanding how that scenario would impact different people in different situations. And so that will be the next step of the process, because when staff has kind of prepared that report, to present that to council as we figure out what our rebuild policy will be, moving forward now that we're getting to a point where the emergency declaration, at some point we'll have to end that declaration. And so with that small presentation, my recommendation to council tonight, of course, is not to vote on these resolutions, but wait until staff has the time to prepare that information and share it with you all before presenting some more refined policy. And I am happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from council? Councilor Mestizo?
I'm just curious, is there any authority outside the city that determines when a declaration, an emergency declaration needs to end?
No, that really is to the discretion of the council. At some point, somebody probably could say we're operating and there's no longer emergency, and that might be a challenge. So, under your emergency authority, you can deal not just with the immediate emergency, but with recovery efforts afterwards. So there is some flexibility there. I urge you to not extend that too long. You really need to get back when it's appropriate to follow the normal procedures.
All right, thank you.
Councilor Banks?
Is there any precedent that's been set in the state of Oregon for duration of emergency declarations?
Not that I'm aware of.
Because I wasn't here when it was declared. Was there any date set, or is there any?
There was no end date set.
And then I'm assuming it hasn't been discussed before my time, and not the same.
I don't believe that we've ever discussed an end date to the emergency declaration in the council. Anything else?
I think that we might have had some secret request forms on this one.
I was just thinking that. Those, over there? Okay. Yeah, okay. All right. Darby Ayers Flood, could you please step forward? And clarification, did you want to make separate comments on 10.1 and 10.2?
Well, it seems like we're on both of the items, so I'm happy to just make one comment.
Great. Please state your name and city for the record.
Thank you. My name is Darby Ayers Flood, and I reside at 221 East Rep Road, but I also own a home at 315 East Rep Road, which is in the burn scar. And for me, that home was a total loss, as it was for just about everybody who is a survivor of the fire. And so I just want to let everybody know that I bought that house in 2001. And at the time that I purchased it, it was in the high density zone. And I had a pretty good understanding of what that meant when I purchased it. And in fact, it was a choice I made for the idea that at some point in time, maybe I could expand more residents on the property when I purchased. That was my long-term plan. And when the fire happened, it burned as a rental. I was using it as a rental. And at the time, it was my hope that I was going to be able to join in the great effort to increase density and build more units on the property than I had had when I purchased the property and lived in it for 6 years raising my children. And unfortunately, I fell in the same circumstances that so many people did, where the economy and the cost of building outstripped the insurance value that I had on the property. And so I found myself in a very long struggle to figure out what plan is going to be the best use for that property. But what I do know is that that property means an awful lot to my family, and it's our hope that whatever we do, we do. And we don't have to sell it because we're not able to figure something out. So I'm here in support of extending the ability to build like for like, so that people like myself have the flexibility to try to recover from the fire in whatever way their means allows them to. And my hope is that we look at that in the context of 18.195.050, which has been in existence really since 2006. And where we make, there's nothing quite like an experience to have you take a second look at how ordinances impact scenarios, but where we are able to look at a more long-term solution. And that solution, I believe, takes some time. If the council decides to go the route of amending an ordinance. And so what I would ask the council is to also consider being prepared to extend the emergency order beyond March 2023. That's the current, is that still the current?
So technically speaking, the emergency order currently has no end date. The executive order that was issued under the emergency, which allows RVs and temporary housing, that ends March 10th.
So there will be some action on the executive order in March of 2023, yeah. So that as, perhaps as part of that, that we clarify and extend that to a point long enough where any actions taken on ordinance, which can take some time going through planning and then coming to counseling and through public hearings, which I hope are very well notified so that everybody understands and can participate in the process, that there's plenty of time to do that. And I guess I just want to close by saying how grateful I am to this council and to the staff for your very thoughtful and very compassionate approach to this issue from the beginning, and that it still remains a concern that folks who are working towards recovery are able to do so without suffering further. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there any other speaker requests for this item?
No.
Is there anyone else that wishes to comment that has not filled out a speaker request form and would like to? Okay, seeing none, is there any more discussion from council? I have one follow-up question. What options could we have for an interim extension if council did decide to entertain an amendment to the code to provide a long-term solution? What options would we have for temporarily extending the provisions in place now?
Wide open options. I would suggest though, that as you do that, you narrow the scope of the current emergency declaration, which covers lots of things. For instance, procurement, which I don't believe those powers have been used on an emergency basis, and that staff has been doing procurement as they normally would. But I think you want to narrow this down so the emergency continues only with respect to dealing with this issue of rebuilds in the forest fire area.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Myers?
I would be interested in seeing a draft of a revised declaration with a little bit more scrutiny to do the items that are lacking due to other extenuating circumstances. Because there might be other smaller things that need to be woven into that as well, in addition to the housing.
Great. And so, if there's nothing else, do we need to postpone, or if no one wishes to make a motion, then can we?
Yeah, so if no one makes a motion, it will just remove these resolutions from being on future agendas. If you'd like to motion a postponement of these resolutions, it will be appear on future agendas. Until either vote on or you'll choose not to vote on it. My recommendation would be to let it drop tonight.
Councilor Myers?
Just that's point of information. If we're revising these declarations, are they then still these same resolutions? Do they still apply because we would be changing?
Since you all have not voted on or considered resolutions, we would just write fresh ones and we can use some of the language already as a draft.
Great. Does anyone wish to make a motion on either of these items tonight? Hearing none. Well, I guess at this point, right, we will move on to the next agenda item. Number 11 is new business. And I believe we could welcome back the mayor and council president.
Thank you, Councilor Park. Well done.
My pleasure.
Item number 11.1 on the agenda is resolution 2022-056-R on canvass of the vote for general elections of November 8th, 2022. Staff.
Council, what you have in front of you, this is staff, excuse me. The staff report concerning the canvass of the vote for the general election of November 8th, 2022. The city council reviews and canvasses the results of the city election via resolution as part of the state election certification process. Supporting documents here include the abstract of votes from Jackson County. As you can see in the screen behind you. After the city council canvasses the votes, canvasses the results, elected candidates will receive the certification of elections from the city recorder indicating their seat and duration of the new term. An oath of office will take place on either the next available meeting, in this case December 21st, or the first meeting or the first public meeting of the new year in 2023. We could go back for the mayor of Talent, Darby Ayers Flood. received 1,286 votes. Mr. Mark Anderson received 1,266 with 5 write-ins. Council position 1, Colette Perry Miller received 1,374. Mr. Derek Manzi received 1099, 2 write-ins. Council position 3, Mr. David Castillo received 1304. Mr. Kevin Zimmer received 1132, 6 write-ins. Council position 4, Nicole Greiter received 1252. And Philip Lanning received 1192 with 1 write-in. And council position 5, Eleanor Panoroff received 1263. Cynthia Jones received 1166. And if we continue down on this resolution, you see that your mayor will be heirs from 2022 to 26. After every year is split. Council position 1, Colette Brian Miller. Council position 3, David Castillo. Council position 4, Nicole Greiter. Council position 5, Eleanor Panoroff. One caveat here is that council position 4 will serve the remainder of the previous term. 2 years.
Any comments or questions? I just want to thank the other candidates for stepping up for their community. I think it is an admirable action on anybody's part to volunteer for their community. These are volunteer positions. They are complex and they are busy work, and it's a generosity, a great generosity for anybody to throw their hat in the ring. So congratulations to the candidates at the dais, but also thank you to the candidates who also ran. Are there any other comments? Thank you, staff, for doing a great job with the elections. All right. Moving on to item number 11.2, discussion of I'm sorry. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to adopt resolution 2022-056-R on canvass of the vote for general election of November 8th, 2022.
Second.
Page 66.
Show my calculus. We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 2022-056-R on canvass of the vote for general election of November 8th, 2022. Is there any further discussion? All right, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is 11.2, discussion of proposed urban renewal plan. Zach?
Thank you, Mayor. The staff has come into apparent changes to the proposed urban renewal plan based on feedback from the council, the community, and our regional partners. What I will be presenting to you tonight is a slide deck. Talk through the plan framework that we have redesigned to after any feedback from the council on that framework and that approach. I will say because it is a steep neck twist for you all, the council does have the printed version of the PowerPoint in front of you. And for those in the room on Zoom, I will be sharing my screen, tech willing. So here we go. Checking can Zoom see my wonderful magic does happen. Hector, are you seeing my notes? My notes or the PowerPoint on Zoom?
I can see your notes on Zoom.
Okay, I'm gonna do one more attempt and then we'll just leave it with the notes. It doesn't work.
There we go. All right, so we're presenting tonight the plan framework for the urban renewal plan to recover and revitalize after the El Nino. The mission of this current draft, the urban renewal plan, is to recover affordable housing, revitalize commercial areas, upgrade city infrastructure, and increase our resiliency to and to decrease our risk of natural disasters. In short, this is a mission to address impacts from the Alameda fire. To dive a little deeper, what you're seeing on the slide is within our mission, the goal of recovering affordable housing. They'll say a little snippet of why this pertains to the fire, the strategies that we'll take to address and try to achieve that goal, and then underneath the strategies, specific project actions that we can take. So as we all know, in the Alameda fire, town lost 47% of our manufactured housing. Manufactured housing is one of our primary sources of affordable housing. And here we are, 2 years after the fire, and we still have 212 manufactured home spaces vacant. And then the manufactured homes that have returned at a price point that are no longer affordable for low-income households. So really, the purpose of this urban renewal plan is to really help ensure that affordable housing comes back to our community, for our residents and all our community members to be a part of the town. To increase the stock of affordable housing here in town, there's 2 strategies. One, increase the available buildable land. So in town, we do have some residential zones that are on the other side of the railroad tracks that are undeveloped or underdeveloped. We could use urban renewal funds to invest in the projects that are necessary to get public access to those parcels to help more housing be developed. Another strategy is to lower the cost of building affordable housing. Really, I look to Ashland for their examples of what programs they've put in place. But to lower the cost of building is to lower the cost of the land. And you can do that with land banking, and helping remediate the land for any environmental concerns. And then, of course, to lower the cost of building. And that is through an SDC waiver and low-cost loans. And say Ashland runs both these programs, and they've been able to have, they've created 133 units of affordable housing through their SDC deferral and waiver program, and 95 units through their grant program to help support affordable housing. Goal number 2 is to revitalize our commercial areas. In the Alameda fire, we lost 60% of our brick and mortar businesses. 2 years now after the fire, only 14% have filed for a building permit. We're having a really hard time with our commercial sector balancing that. So this urban renewal will focus on supporting property development, so that's building the structures that businesses can be in. Right to housing, lowering the cost of land and lowering the cost of building, but also supporting business development. So that is lowering barriers to entry to homes to start a business. You can help with those low-cost loans for startups. You can help increase customer attraction to a business, if you saw programs or things similar. You can support business adaptation. So the business in our area has been able to survive through COVID and able to survive through the fire. We can help them adapt their business model to continue to keep moving forward. Think of it like COVID-19. A lot of businesses had to adapt to serving and doing business outside. Urban renewal funds can help make those transitions happen. Goal number 3 is for upgrading city infrastructure. After the Alameda fire, several neighborhoods have built back at significantly higher densities than what they were before the fire. While the city has planned long-term for these higher densities, we expect it to occur slowly over the long run. So what we're facing now is a very quick, steep increase in the demand on our city infrastructure. And so to address this impact from the fire, we were looking at doing neighborhood-specific investments to support high-density housing. So think of the Gaines neighborhood, where we have had a ton of our cluster developments, a ton of duplexes and ADUs. They have no paved alleys, no sidewalks, yet their housing is going to be really great for folks who are looking for smaller size housing, etc. So we can use urban renewal funds to help upgrade city infrastructure, to put in sidewalks or gutters, to pave those alleys now that we have so many homes that are going to be living off the alleys.
We can also look at streetlights, crosswalks, and upgrading our fire lines to serve a higher density area. The other strategy we can take is to use capital projects to support the increased demand on the entire system. So urban renewal can be used to help upgrade our pipelines that serve the whole city as long as the urban renewal district boundary and some of that. Goal number 4 is to increase resiliency to and decrease the risk of natural disaster. As we all know, the Alameda fire showed us how really vulnerable we are and how much we had to go to prepare for our emergency response. So this plan would use the urban renewal funds to help decrease our risk of natural disaster happening again. By doing things like increasing our tree canopy, we can really help decrease excessive heat, which is considered one of the potential disasters from climate change. We could help with fire-wise landscaping for our homes in the area to reduce the risk of fire spread. And we can do seismic upgrades to city infrastructure so that if an earthquake hits, our infrastructure can stay intact and more quickly serving our community. We can also use urban renewal to increase our resiliency. As you upgrade fire lines again, we can upgrade the flow and pressure of the water to our fire hydrants. So if we ever were in another firefighting situation, we have better flow of water to aid in fighting fires. We would also develop emergency supply caches to improve our response to an emergency and a warning system as an example for how we can better respond to if we ever find ourselves in a disaster again. And I got a buzzer, my blood sugars are a little low, so I'm going to take a moment to pop a can of soda if you wouldn't mind. I'm leaving you guys hanging at the crux of the moment here. What is it? Yeah. And that's increasing the excitement of this topic. So these 4 goals are really the goals that City Council has been saying all along. We want to address our community. And I think in our first jump, in our first attempt at coming an urban renewal plan, there was some huge confusion about how urban renewal can help aid in disasters. So I want to be really clear. This urban renewal plan is not about addressing blight. We are not doing a typical urban renewal plan, which is designed to develop or improve properties that are deteriorating, undeveloped, or otherwise dead. That's not the scenario that Todd's in right now. Typical urban renewals go into effect because they want to encourage development on those properties. Because encouraging development can help increase the property tax revenue over the 20-30-year term. This urban renewal plan is different. This urban renewal plan is about disaster recovery. So because of these unexpected impacts that happened to our community because of the fire, we require significant investment and quickly to address them. And urban renewal can really be that tool to help us recover from the fire, and bring us some life back into our recovery area. I want to be clear that we do not expect property values to increase from this urban renewal plan, but we expect it to better serve our residents and the value by making these investments now. And just to show you guys the mathematical differences between a typical urban renewal plan and this one. So you're looking here on the screen. On the y-axis is property tax revenue, just within that geographical urban renewal district. On the x-axis, the bottom line, that's period of time. So typically a 30-year period. What you see in the dashed line is what you could expect property tax revenue to be without urban renewal. As you see, it's not growing. In some cases, it may even be declining because it's stagnant properties that are not increasing in their value. So again, with urban renewal, is a community can reinvest some property tax funds to encourage growth and make it increase. So what you're seeing on that blue line is if urban renewal happens, what would we expect the impact of property tax revenue to be? Okay, definitely make those right, that's okay. And so the triangle you see is that's the reallocated revenue that you are using to make investments to encourage growth. And urban renewal is typically sold to other taxing districts because there's a benefit. Overall, taxes increase by the end of the urban renewal. For us, it's a little different. So what you see here in the yellow is what we would have expected our property tax revenue to be in a district with no fire occurred.
It's a pretty typical 4% increase every year. Well, you see what happened with the fire disaster. Is we went ahead and we lost our property value. All the structures that lost diminished our property tax roll. But what we're seeing is the rebuild is happening quickly. And that really quick rebuild is increasing everyone's property value by a significant amount. A lot of us had homes that were built in the 70s. Some of us moved to the 1900s. Manufactured homes were old enough where they did not show up on the tax roll. So what we're seeing is a huge increase in property taxes due to the fire rebuild. And so this plan is proposing is, let's reallocate that revenue that is coming due to the fire to reinvest and address these impacts that we're not able to address just on our own. That means it will be a significantly shorter term. We're not looking to increase property taxes over 30 years. We're looking to address our issue now. The projects are going to be response focused to be on the fire. Like I said earlier, no increase in property values are to be expected. And I apologize, my blood sugars are not coming up, and I have a hard time speaking when I dip a little low. So here's some of the main questions that I've heard throughout the process. The first go around for renewal. So can the city of Talent use the unexpected revenue to address the disaster impacts without needing to make it urban renewal district? And what it boils down to is it's really a matter of timing, scale, and purpose. So the urban renewal district can provide more revenue more quickly than the city could procure on its own. The city could absolutely move forward with some of the projects and get them done, but we would not be able to be comprehensive or address all of our needs. In using urban renewal for an emergency response, what we're doing is we're reinvesting the property taxes occurring because of the fire to address the issues caused by the fire. By taking this approach, the goal is to limit the impact to the other taxing districts, the city included. And that brings us to our next main question that we get most often. Will this hurt the bottom lines of the city of Talent, the fire district, and county, etc.? And I gotta say, we are still crunching the numbers to better understand what the financial impacts are. Our approach, however, is to focus on refining the plans and minimize the impact of the other districts. We expect that tax revenue will be close to what it would have been if the fire never happened, and potentially higher. This is because some properties that are not in the district are going to be paying higher property taxes than they have historically. Specifically, those newly placed manufactured homes. So what's coming up next would be the actual financial analysis for us to understand what the impact will be to the other districts as well as to the city, and to help us know if we're ready to have this move forward. So I will be asking council to schedule a special meeting next week. Towards the end of the week, start sharing actual financial numbers to see if they match what we had hoped or expected in redesigning the plan. Once we review those financials and making adjustments that we want to either this framework or to the financial itself, we will then get to a draft report to review at the December 21st meeting to decide if it's ready for public review. And as a reminder, the public review process is a 45-day period. Where we inform every taxing district that will be impacted. We'll host a public hearing with the community. We will get more feedback from partners and folks. And so I'd love now to open it up to council to share any questions, any changes you'd like to see, etc. for this urban renewal plan.
Any questions? Changes? I just have a comment I'd like to make. When I look back at our previous experience, one of the things that I think made it difficult was that it was hard for folks to track the process. And I think we had some tools and some calendars and some timelines that made it available, but that were available to follow, but it was still challenging. And then on top of that, sort of a deeper understanding from the community what each part of the process actually meant to the process. And I think one thing I would like us to do much, much better moving forward is to really help people understand the steps of the process and what those steps mean to the process. And an example I would give is, and I, as the presiding officer, was pretty dedicated that no matter what the community discourse was, that we would see through to the end of the 45-day hearings process, because that was the only way we were going to hear from all the jurisdictions, and we'd be able to hear the impacts from the from the jurisdictions, and as well as from the public. So it was through that process that we were able to gather the information we actually needed to make the decision that we ended up making. As part of the approach, just a really robust, informative tool. And I don't know if that's going to be on the new city website, or if that's going to be ready in time, or I mean, I'm sure that you have given this some thought, but it's, I know that when we, certainly when I've reflected on what could have improved, communication was a big one, and really just extending it to beyond what we think is important communication, but really just kind of covering all, covering even the unexpected types. Am I making sense?
It does, and I can do that feedback. If you don't mind, I'd like just verbally share what the process steps are and where we are for tonight, and then for future, I can go ahead and have an actual document and post publication around what the timeline is and why that timeline exists.
And if I could just reiterate or make a finer point, it's not just knowing the steps, but I think the really big shortfall was understanding what each step meant to the process itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I would say, and I will say I'm going deep into my English high school trauma here to share. We are in the first draft stage of this process. Right now, what we're doing is we're working on the feedback we're crafting, looking for feedback from you all as council in particular, to draft a kind of first draft of this plan. When we finally get comfortable with the draft, what we'll say is, okay, we're ready for others to read it, and we send it to the public review process. That's when we send the plan out to the public, and the public includes our taxing district partners, for them to give us feedback of how they want the plan changed, or how they feel about the plan itself. After we grab that feedback, which is first week mandate, at least a 45-day period, we then take that feedback and we look at it and decide what we want to change about the draft we sent out based on the feedback we received. Once we finish those final edits, it moves into the publication phase. I will say, we want to send it to the publishers, then we will go ahead and council you all to vote to refer that to the ballot. So that way you say, this draft is now final, we are happy with the way this plan looks. We now want the community to choose if this is the plan that they want implemented. So right now we're in the first draft phase, and our timeline is to by mid-February to have it in a finalized plan form to be able to be referred to the ballot in time for the May election.
When is that deadline?
February 24th is the last day we can to submit the measure to the ballot.
I would ask that as also part of that communication that we make it clear all the way down the line that we'll complete that process all the way up to the point where we refer, where it gets referred to the ballots, unless there's, but that it's really up to the end of the hearings process that is so important, and that no decisions have been made up to that point. Like admittedly, I'm basing that on history, but I think it's important for people to know all the way down the line that, we need to continue until we have all the information in and everybody, and we can make more informed decisions. So I'm literally asking for that to be communicated all the way down the line. Yeah, thank you, Jordan. Councilor Palmer?
Yeah, a question regarding the timeline. one of the things we learned is there's not a lot of wiggle room with respect to that. So what we're talking about, I think if I understand, next week we'll get the financial impacts. And the following week, the 21st meeting, hopefully, this council will say yes, let's send it out to the start the 45-day period. After which it'd be really hard to change the boundary. I just want to, suggest that we see, just about boundary, unless it's going to be the same as before, a little bit earlier, because we might actually need to have an additional study session to talk about.
Yeah, and I actually do have desire, Counselor, we are coming up against the time clock. And so my approach, a month ago, I was hopeful that we could have more boundary changes, to address some of the concerns that were brought forward in the initial proposal. And, we are honestly, we don't have time to make much changes. And so we're operating with guys right now to do minimal changes to the boundary itself. This is a tool that's intended to help support our recovery from humidifiers if it's appropriate to have on the burn scar. So we will looking at those particulars next week with that financial analysis. Yeah.
So if we are going to limit changes, I would hope that we would really be prepared to discuss just any changes that, if not in the burn scar, would somehow impact the recovery of the burn scar, and just really focus in on those talking points. Absolutely, ahead of time. Does anybody want to take a break?
Yeah. Thanks for getting closer.
I mean, we don't have to do it this second, but do you want my blood sugars? Do you want to take a break?
Thank you. No, I'm okay.
Okay.
We're towards the end.
Does anybody else want to take a break? All right, let's go. Yep.
Well, change the subject for that. So you're saying that the next meeting we will be talking about boundaries, and I think you said that it's going to be pretty much the same as what we had before?
Yes.
Okay.
But I will caveat small tweaks.
No, I mean, that's fine. It's not a matter that I'm not against any tweaks necessarily. It's just the time it takes to understand.
So I'm just curious, when you say small tweaks, do you mean that they've already been made, or small tweaks coming?
Small tweaks coming.
Yeah.
I will say one of the challenges that we had with the last area proposed is that it bisected so many properties. It was very, very hard to either A, make a legal description, or B, calculate what the urban renewal revenue would be. So the small tweaks are to help adjust for those mathematical challenges.
Makes sense. Councilor Clark?
So as long as we're on the topic, one of the things we discussed was towards the end of adding the road over there, so that it could potentially be widened to accommodate higher density. Is that in your current?
That is current. Are we talking about the one property commentary?
Yes, correct.
So that is currently in the boundary. And we'll see. I will share that property was purchased by a developer as well. We will need to widen that road for it to be fully developed to maximum density.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Councilor Penamara?
Yeah, regarding incorporating public land buildings, there's something in there that you have to get a whole bunch of extra permissions if you were going to construct public building, right? But if we were to say include, and I'm not saying that we should do this, it's more of an academic question, include schools in the area so that we can do some resiliency projects, for example. And we have space for it. Is that something that we could do without the extra permission? I'm correct in that understanding?
Let me follow up on that answer. Complete construction, we would need to do a special process of approval. When it comes to just doing small changes or projects on a public facility, I will follow up.
Okay, for example, solar panels.
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and check.
As an example.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
or comments? Councilman Conrad?
I had one more, kind of an academic question. I was very intrigued when you were talking about how, the urban renewal could be used to improve infrastructure that would serve the entire city as long as it was located within. And it made me think of something, for example, like a pump station. So, which serves the entire, and I'm not suggesting that we need to do anything there, I don't know what we do, but theoretically, we could use urban renewal dollars to bring it back. Great, thank you.
I have one question, well, I have an additional question, I think. At any part, will there be an analysis of, there's a lot of talk about funds that are becoming available and have been available, and I think we all know that there are gaps in those funds, and will that be part of the analysis in some way?
Yeah, that'll be part of our special meeting next week, to really, when we focus down on really how much money, will the urban renewal district generate? And is that A, enough, B, too much, B, just right? And taking into account the fact that other sources of funds to offset that, to help us really understand the right side of the urban renewal district, so that we're supporting all efforts for the rebuild as well as for the services provided by council.
Great. Councilman Conrad?
Yeah, I have a comment. I was wondering if you could show slide number 11 again. So I just want to congratulate you on, this was so hard to explain the graph on the right about how, when the results were fired from the point of view of the tax district, it was just like getting a treasure. It was just raised everything up and, to the detriment of the folks living there. And everybody's property taxes were going up as a result as well as the value, as you explained. And it was a really hard concept to get across, especially even to the public officials, that this was going to be the result of that. So I just want to thank you for that. Very good graph.
I appreciate that, Councilor. We're at the point of property tax revenue from the city perspective is a wonderful thing. It's the money that allows us to provide the services for our community. But Councilor, as you say, this property tax is coming at the expense of our community members. We're having to pay higher taxes, particularly our low-income community members who lost their house are really being overburdened by that increase. But I also want to share that the fire taught us that there's a lot of services we want to be providing that we were not right prior to the fire. So I am cautious on the words like windfall or treasure for this property tax, recognizing you said it's a burden to our community, but also recognizing we will continue to have tough decisions when it comes to prioritizing city resources. Since, the government state is not to have enough to do all that we want to do. So recognize that that's the situation we're in and we'll continue to be in, for the next centuries to come as well.
Thank you. I wanted to say money, but that's like the reverse thing, right? So I was, yeah.
All right. There's nothing else. We'll go ahead, and we don't need any direction from staff. From council, or there's no action. Do you need direction?
I need no direction. I will say, please sit with what I've shared tonight. The thoughts come to you over the next 2-week period specifically. I think that you would like to see change or you have questions about. Is this 2-week period is a big push for the 21st. So please don't hesitate to email, call, or text.
Great. All right. So let's go ahead and move on to item number 12, which is commission and committee reports. Anybody have any commission or committee reports?
Sure.
Councilor Clark?
The Cal Urban Forestry Committee continues to work with the National Park Service, Rivers, Trails, and Conservation Assistance Program on development of an urban forestry master plan for the city of Cal. This is a broad spectrum and comprehensive process, so we are happy to have the National Park Service guiding us through they've been a tremendous resource. And that'll be an ongoing process in the coming months. When it is completed, it'll be an opportunity for us to have a well-designed strategy and approach for how we move forward with planting and managing trees in the city of Talent. And we are also discussing potential tree planting projects for late winter and spring. So we'll be back with more information on that at future meetings.
Great. Anybody else?
For parks, a new bathroom is going in at Cameron Springs Park. And unfortunately, I don't have my notes with me, or I could give you very detailed updates about dollars and process. I'm happy to email that to all of you for reference. And there is also a grant that the clock is ticking on Medusa for signage in parks. There are some questions about process that really I think I should address with you first, Jordan, before I can come up with sort of an update. But the goal is to really include feedback from our Latinx community members in the crafting of these interactive signs that allow people to engage with them in a variety of ways. And also for that to be a collaborative project with Talent City. We are so lucky to have you here in our community. And then there was also some discussion. We had a publicly noticed walkthrough of our parks, assessing various questions that have been coming up. And a big thing that arose, one, was that we have such a wonderful equipment borrowing opportunity through the city for our parks. And the commission wants to make sure that the wider public is aware of that, which led to a larger discussion about expanding the Parks and Rec Commission communications and what that looks like. Again, some more questions for Jordan, but really the goal is to just increase our community's awareness of all the really wonderful amenities that are available to us in this tiny little town. So,
Great. Has the LTRG met? Is there any update from them?
They were one step away from finalizing an outreach survey and having a website finalized for the public to access. It's a pretty extensive survey, and they're looking for feedback on a number of recovery and assistance and impact issues.
Great. I got a copy of that as well and forwarded it to businesses. Is that something that we can make available on the city website, or for folks to go to the website and find this survey and weigh in on fire recovery and impact and that sort of thing? Great, thank you. Anybody else?
Again, the talent is not meeting this month, December.
Thank you. Okay, anything from planning? I didn't make the last planning meeting, so.
Yeah, they were just, a big part of their discussion was about in-person virtual meetings, and there's a lot of technology that I think needs to be sorted out and figure out how that's going to work still.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think we want to be running smoothly before we talk about anything else. Yeah. All right. Nothing. And okay. So I think just a big picture update is that we have done a really good job in the last quarter. Thank you, Hector, for all the work you do, bringing applications in and making sure they get through the process. Our committees and commissions are pretty well filled up. Although I think I did read there's still an opening or two, if somebody wants to get involved in the city, we maintain that information on the website, and you can still get an application to apply, but generally, I think we're in pretty good shape, and thank you for all the great work you do on that front. Okay, the next item on the agenda is item number 13, other business and future items. Does anybody have anything? Council comments?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the non-agenda item on Clearview. Yeah, so that's something that would go for a transportation commission, but ours don't have one yet. I'm thinking that might be a good thing to do for January, to bring that back. But what I'm wondering about is what the process is right now as far as getting some community involvement and things happening there. So I guess it's a question for staff, but I also would like to see that transportation commission coming back. So I'm just wondering, does staff have any information on that, about what are the next steps for those folks?
Clarification, I was asking for the next steps for bringing the transportation community back together or for addressing these concerns.
Addressing the concerns.
Yeah, and I heard it based on the audience tonight. Dave Halliburton had a couple conversations about this, and we really have so many major projects going on. I have not been able to prioritize Clearview's requests. So right now, I'm really just waiting for the capacity of the plate to decrease after this December 21st vote.
Does he know that?
Yes.
Yeah. Does he have like a projected date that you will circle back to that? Or staff will circle back to that?
We don't have a date certain right now, but they just regularly.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah.
Would that typically be public works, or is that on the planning thing, or how, I'm not quite sure.
Well, I think that's one of our struggles is typically it's a transportation commission thing. As is, we did have public works and police talk about it, we put down traffic on it, we can follow those places around the spot, just to do an analysis to see what's needed. And that is where we left it at that, to wait to see what that data showed.
So I heard you say police are also involved in those decisions, or?
When Dave first came to me, I discussed it with both our police chief and our public works director about the course of action, and they both recommended, let's do some traffic analysis to see what the level of need is.
Okay, great, thank you.
Well, let's go ahead and follow up on the traffic commission conversation. And I think, we, through COVID, really had no demand, and it was easy for the traffic commission to not be needed. But I think we're starting to see an uptick in conversations that would be appropriate before a commission. And I'm happy to, to participate in outreach to get that going again, and would ask, the whole commission. And previously, there was a representative from Public Works and a representative from the police department. So we would look to staff to decide how that goes, and maybe just have some conversations in our weekly meetings or something about how you see that getting staffed, and what the capacity is, and a timeline for them. Might as well start heading for that. I don't think there is any action we need to take. So there was no action that disbanded the commission. It just like so many things in COVID, it just sort of dissipated, and there was just no demand for a while for traffic meetings. But so I'll make it a point for part of our Monday discussion, and we can talk about the staffing of it, which is a critical part. Without it, it gets super dysfunction or not effective.
Absolutely, and I am thinking this is more of a January discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I think if it comes back to the council, we can bring it back in January, but in the meantime, we can just kind of poke around and see if there's what we need to make it work, so that we're ready for that January discussion. Great. Anything else for other business? I would love to take your hand raised there, but because of the council rules, we have 2 periods of time that we take comments from the audience. And that's in speaker request forms, non-agenda items, and on agenda items. So I'd just like to explain that. And be happy to take your comments after the meeting's over. Right? Is there, okay, so if there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 8:19. Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.